Yeah.
We all set? We'll call this meeting to order. First thing is review and approve April 5th, 2022 minutes.
I move that they be accepted as printed.
And I'll second that. All in favor? Yeah, what you got over there, Bob?
No, I got a copy, I don't know if you want one.
I don't have one.
Signs you paper.
Copy that.
What's that?
You got the first page there, Bob? You can add it. Just want to make sure they get together. All right, second thing is review and approve April 19th, 2022 warrants. You guys had a chance to look them over?
Yes.
Do you want to hear a motion?
Make a motion, we approve them as read.
Second. All in favor? Mr. Thompson, you're up.
Tree growth application. Just need signatures from the assessors, so three of you underneath, you can date it for me.
Okay.
Same thing, just another. This is an abatement application for unfinished area over a garage, so it was assessed as finished. Yeah, one that sneaked through on the 6 month. I think we accounted for it last fall, but sneaked through in the 6 months. We didn't do a Y2K dump over from Vision into Trio. We did more of the manual changes.
Yeah. Oh.
Yeah.
Oh.
This one is a duplicate account in Trio. So we're abating this one account. He is assessed for the same lot, map and lot, same person, but a different account number.
Oh.
This one here is just down the road, has a mobile home out behind the main house. So it had been put in as a building 2 on the main parcel for 5.9. And it also had been assessed as an on account because they don't own the land for the mobile home. so as a separate 590N.
Mm-hmm.
So we deleted building 2, if you will, off in 59, and this is the difference here, so.
Okay.
That's all I got.
All you got?
Not too bad.
Yeah.
All right. Signatures and stuff.
Lisa, you're not.
Hi, I'm Lisa Rappin with Glenvale. And Robin, I think this is the first time I'm meeting you.
Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you as well. I have just paper copies, 2 paper copies, so I can follow up and send you the electronic copies of what I have for the board tonight. So what I'm handing out is on the bottom is a copy of the February 9th letter that I sent along to Bob and select board. And then the presentation is kind of just a condensed version of what we've already discussed, you know, being, it was August when we were last here.
I think so, yeah.
Yeah.
No.
And so the first thing I wanted to do is, you know, just preface by saying I'm not going to go through, you know, the whole jig again.
Again.
We're not going to do that dance again.
Yeah.
If there's any questions, certainly we can you can ask them, and I'll do my best to answer them. But I thought what I'd do is just give a quick update on the status of the project, let you know where we are with it, and then just kind of just review sort of three options, and not the only options, but 3 options of doing a TIF and the impact of doing a TIF on the town's tax revenues versus not doing a TIF.
Mm-hmm.
And then kind of open it up for discussion about what the next steps could be,
Mm-hmm.
You know, specific to moving forward and timing, understanding that we're not going to make it for this year's town meeting.
Right, yeah.
So the first thing I want to review is just where we are with the project. So we've gone through the state permitting process, LODA and NERPA permits, and we received those. We have received the conditional use permit from the town of Baldwin and an extension, or 1-year extension for that start of construction of that permit, which I believe goes to, I want to say June of next year. I don't recall the exact date, but, we applied for the one-year extension. We didn't start the project as planned this year. Two main reasons for that. One is the second bullet on the stage 3, and that's the, ISO New England, performing the system impact study. That was just recently received in March, and like many of the projects in the state, the civil projects in the state, Central Maine Power has come back with some very significant upgrade requirements with heavy costs associated with them. And so we're in the process of doing a review with the review committee at ISO New England and CMP, working through that to see if any of those costs should be borne by multiple projects or should be borne by CMP, or how that's going to shake out. So that's a kind of a significant item to the project. Like, as is, the project would not go forward if CMP were to, like, assign all of those costs to the project. This project just would not be able to bear it. They're that high. And I don't know if anybody has heard about other projects around the state that are getting interconnection costs back from Central Maine Power that are exorbitant. In fact, the Maine PUC ordered a study to be done of CMPs, reviewing CMPs, and that got done, and then CMP offered to apply $600,000 of additional resources to kind of review their process and kind of, and that most of that was for distributed generation projects across the state that were just getting really hard. Anyway, that's kind of a sidebar, not related to our project, but kind of indirectly related. We do have an energy contract in place with Central Maine Power. We had that since January of 2020. So that's secure, and we just have to execute by December of 2024 if the meeting has the project complete, ready to be turned on. And then another significant, it's not project related, but it's more industry related, is tariffs and import tariffs, and which are causing a real constraint on supply and pricing of both modules and racking. And this is specific to the U.S. These are tariffs coming out of Asian countries for products. There's very little availability of U.S.-made product, and in fact, projects that were slated for 2022 are getting pushed into 2023. Ours is in that boat. So even if we were to have everything resolved and buttoned up, we would still be starting construction next year. So from a timing perspective, it's not great, because the longer you protract a project, it's sort of costs just kind of tend to get they just accumulate, if you don't just get things done efficiently, right? But on the other hand, if we were to be ready to build a project this year, the project would get hit with probably 10 to 15% higher cost to construct it because of those supply constraints, and that's mostly on the modules. So that's the update. It's not a rosy picture. I know that the prior times we were in, you asked the question is this project going to go forward if you don't do a TIF? The TIF is really a kind of a win-win for the town and the developer. It's not the savings that the TIF realizes for us as a developer are kind of pale by comparison to like something like the interconnection cost. It does matter to the project in terms of the operating expenses over the 30 years, quite a bit. But when you look at, you know, the sort of net present value of savings that a discount from a credit enhancement agreement would offer, it's like much less than the water that sinks the boat from the interconnection cost. So, you know, in full disclosure, it's not, the TIF it's not like a, no TIF, no project. It's more like, if you don't do a TIF, the town doesn't see 75 cents on the dollar of the tax revenues, because that's gonna get lost due to this tax shift. And that's kind of, represented in these three options that I had included in the February letter. So if you don't do a TIF, and these projected tax revenues are just, these are just that, they're just projections. They're, you know, obviously not, we haven't gone through, you know, the valuation, assessed value with the assessor, and, you know, looking at like depreciation schedule, et cetera. So the projected tax revenue over 30 years from the project is $2.3 million. And if you don't establish a TIF and shield, you know, that tax revenue for TIF eligible projects such as the fire department work, then you're gonna actually have a net of $700,000 to the town. So you lose like $1.6 million. So the options 1, 2, and 3 are just three different ways of kind of structuring a credit enhancement agreement that would share in the savings for avoided losses. It's a combination of both. Option one being a 30-year with a 30% discount, and so the town would net $1.6 million instead of $700,000. I'm looking at the far column, and so $700,000 would be like the discount to us over 30 years. Option 2 is also 30 years, but looks at kind of fixing the revenue to the town at the greater of $50,000 or $3,500 per megawatt, and what that nets is $1.5 million, just slightly less, but $1.5 million to the town. And then option 3 is a shorter term, a 15-year TIF that starts at 60% discount and then goes to full tax for the second half. So for the first half, years 1 to 15, it's a 60% discount, and then years 16 through 30, you get the full tax revenue, and that estimates as a $1.2 million revenue total to the town. And again, these can be, you know, these can be structured however the town, you know, really wants. You can sort of front load tax revenues and, you know, make plans used for whatever TIF eligible projects you put into the plan, or you can keep it, you know, consistent. You can do 15 years, you can do 20 years, or 30. 30 is the max. So I'll pause there if anybody's got any questions so far.
Yeah, I see you have three options. I think the last time you presented us, you had some slightly different options.
Yeah.
This was the May, or no, the August one. We've had three different presentations, and now they have slightly different flavors.
Yeah.
Of TIF, and originally it started off with a 24% credit enhancement.
Yeah, and this one actually is different also in that I took and we increased I increased the mill rate by 1% per year, whereas the prior ones was just fixed the mill rate. So these are just projections. The options, you may be wondering, well, why are you coming in with different options? It's just to show flexibility. Like we really, the most important thing is to see, like, does the town want to do this? And because with any of these options, you're really avoiding losing 75 cents on the dollar, right? And it, however you want to kind of structure it, it really doesn't matter to us.
One of the important factors, I think, is what is it going to assess at?
Yeah. So that, yeah.
Because my impression was that you were looking for a certain dollar amount to recoup through the credit enhancement agreement, not a percentage. You're looking to recoup a certain number of dollars, and so then we have to start talking about what's the whole place, assess that,
Right.
and then start looking at these assumptions about ever increasing mill rates, every year. I don't have the spreadsheet that you use to produce these, but on some of these, we've got mill rates that increase every year, and our history of mill rates just doesn't reflect that.
So again, those mill rates are not meant to, like, we're not fixing mill rates.
I know, but they go into the assumptions, so.
Right. If the mill rate goes up, it goes up. If it goes down, it goes down, and it's against the assessed value. The assessed value we use as an industry standard using the cost methodology versus income approach. So we use a cost approach, and that's what we typically use. And it takes into consideration the investment tax credit and the depreciation basis, and it depreciates out over 15 years, down to 30%. So that's the sort of standard assessed value method. And then applying a mill rate, again, is just like, we just take the starting mill rate, and, if we can put whatever escalation against it. The credit enhancement agreement will most likely be written as a percent like reimbursement against the tax for that year. So, assessed value times mill rate gets your tax, and then there's a discount percentage against it. So it's not and we're forecasting it, but we're not, like, fixing it.
I understand.
Yeah.
So last time I talked to you on the phone, I think you were driving, you had somebody with you.
Stefan.
I think what I told you was, we will go down this road a bit. I personally think that there's something in it for the town.
Yeah.
But there's a lot of skepticism in town. And it's the voters of the town that have to approve TIF.
Right.
So I think probably the way to proceed going forward, shortly after town meeting, is to start with some public hearings, so that you folks can educate anybody who's interested in listening about the benefits of the credit enhancement agreement.
Sure.
And that will be your opportunity to tell townspeople why it's critical for you to have that, and its importance on the project. I personally believe that there's an advantage of the town to do it. for the town's sake, but not necessarily for yours, for the company's sake. And, so, like I said, I think the first thing to do would be to start, have a couple of hearings and see if we can get a sense of what people believe.
Okay. Yeah, we fully expected that anyway, that, you know, anything that, I mean, it's new to this town, it's new to the other towns that we're working in as well, where, and Hiram as well, where, so 20% of the project is in Hiram, I don't know if everybody was aware of that, but as you recall. Yeah, just, we have a main TIF consultant who does TIFs routinely here in Maine and across, I think there's over like 400 plus towns that have done TIFs. And I don't know, he's worked with many of them. We would absolutely expect to come in and do sort of educational session on, what a TIF is and what a credit enhancement agreement is and why it's beneficial to the town and why it's beneficial to the developer, and just, you know, it's like an information session, so we can plan for that.
Okay, I would plan to lean heavily on it. Why is it important to the project?
Yes.
And the, you know, the credit enhancement portion of it. But, yeah. So there's another question that has come up on a number of these solar farms. You know, we've got, I think, 4 or 5 so far that have been approved in town.
I do have a question.
Go ahead.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, I guess my question to you guys as developer, are you looking to scale back the size of this? This is 6.5 megawatt, right?
No, this project is, 16.
Okay. That changes my whole focus, thank you.
Yeah, I mean, were you talking DC or AC? Do you care?
I don't, no.
Yeah.
So it's that big, okay, for some reason I had it stuck in my head, it was 6.5.
6.5 sounds
Megawatt.
like, some of the other projects that are tax exempt.
So that's where I was heading, because you're splitting between 2 towns, so that's why I was wondering, if you were down that size, then I was wondering if.
No, so the total project size is, 16, and 80% of it is involved.
Yeah, you're too big, okay.
Yeah, so it's definitely, doesn't fall under the tax exempt.
No.
You know, we're paying taxes.
Yep, nope, that's what I was, in my head, I thought, 'cause I got a lot of them, so I deal with 6 different towns, so that's why I was sitting there thinking, if you guys were scaling back the
Right,
size of it.
I think it's 5 megawatts AC,
It
that is the.
Yep, it is, it's under that, it has to be under
So you
that.
probably have a bunch that are 4.99.
Oh, yeah, you know, so that's where I was heading, because you could split that between 2 towns and possibly become up, but you're too big, so continue.
Yeah, I don't know, actually don't know if it's kind of a moot point, because this project's well over 10 or 9.9 megawatts to split 50-50, but I don't even know if that would.
Well, we don't need to go down that road,
Yeah.
that's where I was heading, if anybody asked that question, that would be more, our job to ask that question rather
Right.
than yours.
Right,
But, of main rev, but, yeah, it's a moot
Yeah.
point at this point.
We've, had some discussion internally in town about, numbers that we see on the solar farms that have been permitted. And there's a number that we see on the conditional use permit. And usually it's considerably less than the number that we see reported to DEP in the applications up there. And
the number,
the
what's
value,
the
the
value
cost of the project, yep. And I see here that you have a couple of, not quite a significant number, but like your first presentation, this was back, this is in, May of last year, had a net increased asset value for the project of 9.7 million. And then, we have another number from August of last year, captured increased asset value of 12 million.
That's the total, so.
And then I've seen,
Yeah.
I think, a number maybe that came out of a DEP permit that the project filed, at 20 million or something. And so I was just wondering what the number is and what they represent.
Right, so 20 million would be the probably full finance construction, because DEP wants to ensure that we can finance the entire cost of the project. The assessed value is less than the cost of the project. The 12 million would represent 100% of the assessed value, and then the 9.7 is the 80% which falls on.
Whatever. I think
At least that's, you know, without looking exactly where you're looking,
yeah,
that's my sense of it.
one is called increased asset value. Is that your?
Asset or assessed?
I'm sorry, increased assessed value.
Assessed value, yeah.
Estimated assessment ratio 100%. And then,
So,
that was
yeah.
that was not a reduced to, like 24%. And then, in this other presentation, it was 12.2 million captured increased assessed value. And I think the important question though was, why do we see these grossly different numbers? And let's say we've seen it on a number of the solar projects. And some of them are almost double what's reported to DEP, yeah, versus the construction cost that's put on the conditional use permit.
I don't know, I'd have to like look at specific numbers, but like, I know the DEP wants to see the developer's ability to finance the project, so it's all in, you know, it's loaded with, development costs and construction financing and, decommissioning's probably in there, I don't know, I'm somewhat speculating because
Yeah.
I didn't work on the state permit.
Maybe if you could, send us something that explains that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't think you've received it, but some of the other developers have received a letter kind of asking them to explain it.
Okay.
And if you can't, we'd like some more, there's more cost under building permit.
Okay, took a note. I'll take that back and
All right.
get back to you.
Yeah.
So, your town meeting is in May?
Yeah, the fifth of May, the 7th of May.
So,
The first Saturday night.
right, so, when would be a good time to have a public hearing? Tuesday night?
Well,
In the end of May, or?
I don't know.
Huh?
I'm not sure.
Yeah.
I'm not sure we're ready to set a date right now, but
Yeah.
middle of May, I think.
I don't know if it's on a Saturday or not.
Yeah.
Saturday?
Yeah, maybe, yeah, I'm thinking, because it depends on how long it's gonna, you know.
I think there'd be a lot of question and answer type.
Yeah.
Session.
Well, we can do it on a, you know, weekend day or an evening night, or, you know, whichever you think you're gonna get
We'll
better
talk
turnout.
about it and see.
Hmm?
We'll talk about it and see.
Yeah, and then you probably wanna notice it somehow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, do you want me to check back in with you, after you kinda confer on what's like a good, cause May is kinda right around the corner.
Yeah. I will get back with you.
Okay.
We have the holiday weekend in May also.
Yeah, true.
The end of May, right? Okay.
Yeah, so the sooner the better. If we get this discussion going, we'll see how it.
Yeah, do you mind if I ask about the fire department study? Is that,
It's, we're in the process of making comments on it, and we'll get back with a consultant.
is the plan to, vote on it at town meeting?
No.
No.
You know, most of the recommendations that we receive are organizational and structural
Mm-hmm.
processes and procedures, which we probably should have been doing for many years.
There's not a capital project in there?
Well, part of it is, should we get rid of our old, no good, broken down, too small fire departments, we have 3 of them, and replace them with 1 or 2. And that's a difficult discussion to have because people like to have fire departments right close by. So it's hard to measure, hard to understand how people will react to it. They haven't said you gotta do it. And I don't think the study actually makes at this point anyway, makes an argument that you would be better off if you did it this way. You know, so it's not a slam dunk issue. And I think, as Bruce will tell you, we'll probably talk about it for the next year.
I think to talk about it, 5 years from now, I know on some of the things, it's just not gonna happen all at once.
And so, and I think, as I told you before, Lisa, that tips don't fit well with this town. That we could find some places to spend the money, but the question is, are the people going to wanna do it? And, so, the fire departments, we decided that there was a source of revenue that we could help build the fire department.
Or renovate.
Or renovate. They don't fit well.
They can't be renovated,
They don't fit well with the rules.
I'm sorry.
They don't fit well with the rules in this town. And if you read the rules of, so fire department, that's one area that's specifically, it gets a new change. It says costs related to the construction or operation of municipal public safety facilities, the need for which is related to general economic development within the municipality. So, you'd have to find some way that building a new fire department relates to economic development. And, I don't know. What comes to mind? And not to exceed 15% of the captured access value of the development district. And we don't know what fire departments would cost, but probably close to $1 million. We can do broadband services, we can do recreational trails. People talking about changing the railroad here to a bike trail, walking trail. We can do child care facilities, construction, financing the cost of construction of child care facilities. Other things that may or may not work here. I can see that there are places where the town could use a TIF for its benefit. Fire department, I don't know, we could justify it and get it by the folks up in Augusta.
Well, I think that might be where like the TIF consultant can help, because, I mean, I've read X TIFs that were, like, compiled by, a TIF attorney in Maine here, and she just, like, she's with Bernstein Sure, and she collected, like, all the TIF projects across all of the you know, the TIF towns that she represented over 15 years, and the firm represented over 15 years. And it was, like, exhaustive, and, you know, there were just, like, there were projects that I wouldn't have expected. Now, I don't know the details of what happened in that town particularly, but, like, the description of the projects were kind of like, you know, they didn't feel like they were just like round peg, round hole. So I think before, like, disqualifying or thinking that a project that you might conceive of is not gonna be eligible, is to just, like, put it forward to a TIF consultant and see what they have to say.
I personally am open to looking at the question, but.
Yeah.
That's to say, it's one of the more difficult ones. I think some of the others are more obvious and.
Right.
Is that something that could take place before a public hearing, so that when you go to the public hearing, you have that information of what
I think there's, you know,
would be?
I'll give you my perception of the whole question, and if there are, two issues. One is, I think the town could, if the project was gonna go ahead, the town could do a TIF on its own.
Sure.
We don't need to do a credit enhancement agreement. And, we could pick whatever and go off and go forward. So that's why I've emphasized to you a number of times is you need to emphasize to the people who are gonna vote on this thing is why we need a credit enhancement agreement.
Yeah. Well, we're bringing the project, and in good faith, we're bringing the effort to support the town in creating a TIF. We're willing to pay the legal services, the consulting services to help you get it set up. And in turn, you know, work in good faith to give us, a break on the taxes, right? And, you know, it's not like a but-for argument, like some developments might come in and build housing or, you know, something in the center of town and say, like, you know, we really need a deep tax discount to make this, to bring this economic development to the town, and, but for the credit enhancement agreement and the TIF, the project would not happen. That horse is basically out of the barn. And earlier on in the development, yeah, when there's a lot of unknowns, there's a lot of risk in the project. There's still a lot of risk in the form of, like, two major things, the things that I highlight about where the project is. So neither of them are TIF related. The TIF, if we get $700,000 off of a stream of, as a discount, it helps the project, it helps us. And that's just the honest truth. I mean, that's why we're here to help the town get it. I mean, you'll save a lot more than we'll save, like double. That's our proposal. So if we save $700,000, you're saving $1.6 million. We think that's fair.
Yeah.
But you could do it on your own and leave us out in the cold, and we would probably be, like, pretty upset.
But that's what I say is I think you're gonna have to sell the credit enhancement for it.
Yeah, that's why I keep coming back, trying to sell it.
And
you know.
and I would tell you that at this point, I don't know about the other two, but I'm not sure that a lot of people would agree with the TIF in general. And so, you know, I think that there's a lot of educating that needs to happen.
Yeah.
As to what the TIF does, and doesn't do, and then if we need a credit enhancement agreement. And so, that's why I think we started on it. I personally hate to leave money on the table, on a project like this. I think if it goes forward and is completed, there's a chance for some significant revenue that the town wouldn't have otherwise.
Right.
Without a lot of, cost to the town in the long term running of the project.
Right.
Supporting it, so.
Yeah.
All right, well, I will, make a point,
I appreciate your clear view.
you're welcome.
No, you know, like,
Yeah.
yeah, I appreciate that you have a very, like, clear and open view, that, you know, that you understand all of the aspects of it, and, you know, the town could very well, like, do this on your own, and why should you help the developer, you know?
Mm-hmm.
And I hope that you appreciate that, like, I'm here, like, you know, representing Glenvale and giving you the straight story. It's like, you know, we're not trying to, like, represent anything but the truth.
Yeah, and well, the town has not done anything like this before. I think we had a brush with it several years ago, but really didn't consider it in any serious way. And, so.
Well, people are skeptical of tax breaks, right, and rightfully so, like, you know, people may view this as like just lining the pocket of the developer, but, you know, these projects they're like so finely financially modeled. Even at the, you know, at the beginning when we're like competing, the first thing we did was compete for the energy contract, before knowing, like, really, like, a lot of what the costs would be for the project, including the construction, the interconnection, like, it's a big major cost. And we had to make assumptions. And so, you know, that's the risk that the developer takes, and you win some and you lose some. But, like, you know, this project doesn't, like, this project and the other ones that we're working on in Maine have not, like, turned into, like, windfalls. It's just like, you know, you just.
Yeah. Well, I'll, probably won't be until after the start of the month, so we'll start talking about setting a date.
Okay. I appreciate that.
Yep. And I appreciate you coming back. And
yeah, thank you for the time.
The thing started again. And we'll figure out where we can go from here.
Sure. Excellent. All right, I'll follow up and send you electronically what I shared, and I'll look for touch base back to you.
All right, thanks.
All right, thanks so much.
All right, thank you for coming.
Thank you. All right.
The guy at the house, day before yesterday, you know, he's deaf against deafs.
Who's that?
The guy lives in East Walton. So just, I didn't want to beat her up and tell her what he said. You know?
Does he fully understand?
Well, his thing was, if it can't support itself, why are we working in it? You know, that was the bottom line.
Well, that's what I say. Those are the type of things that, and the questions that will come up. And so, if it's gonna go forward, then it needs to be answered, and answered clearly, and if people may not understand.
Smiles and we're all know and see.
I have a good question.
And I think it's all gonna come down to dollars.
Oh, yeah. Your thoughts on it, Dad? No, nothing else.
Your decision.
That just wants
It'd be a
to
nice
read it.
fat 706A when you guys get to that next hump of information I need from them, same with from the West Valley line.
Yeah.
A lot of questions and a lot of hypotheticals, so I haven't seen anything real yet.
Yeah, really, something new, solid.
I mean, I can't even throw a real active assessment on it until other questions are answered.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. One thing I thought I heard her say, you're gonna pay for our consulting fees.
They've been saying that all
Say
along.
that.
Huh?
I heard her say that.
They've been saying that all along.
Well,
Just so you guys are aware too, the 706A would probably not be something that would be, you know, would be questions that I'll be asking that'll be confidential. To, you know, so, I mean, you could do an executive session as the assessors, because there would be confidential information based off their business coming back.
Oh, yeah.
If you wanted to review it, but
Yeah.
credit enhancements, things like that all factor into the value.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
okay.
All right.
Have a good day.
You too, thank you for coming down. Mechanical Services, new contract.
Did you guys read it?
Yeah.
Want to sign it?
Yep. You make the motion, you sign it?
What, one copy with me or not? Thought I had that. If, Robin, if you could print one out, and, on that,
I think I ought to do that. Nobody in the area has got the expertise to work on it.
Yeah.
just so we vote on, move that we sign the next year's contract with Mechanical Services for maintenance and heating.
I second it.
You want David? Yeah. Basically the same that we had all along.
Yeah, it's went up a little like per hour, but it's minor compared to what it could be.
Right, yeah.
You see my comments on this report?
You're talking to me?
Yeah.
I only see one that, it was just before I came in here. I haven't read them, what,
You did a pretty good job, but,
The one I read, I guess, comments, what, think about, but.
I got about halfway through that. Give myself a break for a while.
Pretty dry.
That's why I said, you gotta read it a couple times. The first time I read it, it's like, oh my God, this ain't happening. You start breaking it down, and then you can see the different areas where you've got to work on.
Yeah, I can see a
Bring
lot
it
of,
back.
I can see a lot of good points he's bringing up, and like the automatic, calls and stuff like that,
Now I can see a problem with that.
I can too.
Limerick is having a problem already because they're covering too many calls for soccer fee right now.
Oh.
And the people over there are starting to bitch because they're paying for ambulance service, but it's you going to another town.
Another town, I think, yeah.
The idea behind it is good.
Yeah.
But, it's just.
Well, it's changed a lot. There's not enough manpower in any town to get these trucks out.
Right. Yeah.
I'd like to tell you there is, but the truth of the whole thing is, this past couple of years, it has just dropped right off.
Yeah, but if you're a taxpayer in one town, and you let some other town take care of your taxes.
But it's mutual aid, it goes both ways.
Yeah.
And I'm trying to track it now, so at the end of the year, I can give you a figure, how far, did we do, 15 calls receiving and only 10 given, or something like that, vice versa. This has never been tracked before, and I'm trying to track it, starting this year.
Yeah.
Through the computer system we got with Maine State there. It's called Methods, but.
I think it's gonna scare them.
The thing is, it has to be mutual aid now. And this fire that they had this morning, it didn't take me too long to get a hold of Rob and see what the hell was going on, because they was calling it a structure fire, and the whistle stopped. So, once somebody got there, we figured out it was in the wall, you know, and it didn't travel too far in the wall.
So that wasn't an actual call?
Yeah, and I was down in Yarmouth, headed east, talking to Bob on the phone, I said, I gotta go.
That was Spanish that responded to it.
Standards responded to it, and they brought, at least 3 of their trucks, I believe, and one of ours made it. Just one.
Yeah.
And it wasn't the one that was down the road 500 feet. No.
Where'd it come from?
Huh?
Where'd it come from?
West Baldwin, Howard brought it. West Baldwin.
Thank God for Howard.
Yeah, I'm gonna say, it's not like it used to be, and in this report, you gotta kind of keep that in mind right now, until we get built up or come up with a different system. And those are both mentioned in that report.
Now, I got a brother-in-law that was a captain, he's retired now in Portland Fire Department. And I was talking with Danny one day, and I was asking him, it seems so every time that they have a call or something in Portland, the rescue unit goes out, 2 engines go out. But he sat me down and kind of explained to me that if, you know, if there was 1 or 2 minutes that you needed, you had to wait for somebody else to, you know, send something else out.
Yeah.
You know, that's already there.
That's why the mutual aid, and it has to be stipulated, and it should be in a written agreement. This town has not been good in doing written agreements with mutual aid, that it's give and receive.
Right.
I mean, if they have the same thing, they have a structure fire in Sebago, North Baldwin truck should be there, you know, with it.
Right.
And if Cornish has something in West, that one should be rolling, and East Baldwin would be standards of women. And that's the type of agreement we've gotta have in writing.
That goes right back to the same thing with Limerick and South Bay. Say you have a 56-year-old male, 1098 people off the trail in West Baldwin, not conscious, not breathing. You can get both rescues out of Standish.
You probably will.
No, you will.
You will.
They own both rescues. So now the taxpayers in Standish have no coverage.
But we're paying Standish, that's the difference. That we don't have mutual, we got mutual aid, but we're paying.
Right, you're paying for Standish, but what happens when they have to haul Wyndham to Standish for medical call?
It really doesn't make any difference if you look at it. There is a difference here, and I understand that, but also built into theirs already is certain areas, whether it be Sebago, or whether it be Wyndham, or Warwick,
Yes.
or Buxton. I mean, it's already built into that card system, that those rescue units are gone, dispatch knows which one to pull.
Mm-hmm.
And this takes planning, which goes back to what Neil was trying to tell us to do.
That's similar to what, when we had Sockabee, if Sockabee's both soccer units are out, then either Sebago or Standish got called, right?
Right.
Yeah.
But it wasn't in writing or anything, that was the problem.
That was just through.
That was just dispatch,
Yeah.
not dispatch.
Right.
Yeah.
Going to the next available.
And these things
Yeah.
need to be worked out, so if I'm not there with a fire call, it's all automatic. I shouldn't have to be hanging up with him on the phone and
Right,
saying, what the
yeah.
hell is going on here? I shouldn't have to do that. It should be all automatic with the dispatcher. If they don't get a response in, a certain amount of time, go to someplace else.
We always said, it's easy to turn people back than it is.
Yeah, we do it.
Get them in.
We used to do it all the time.
It's hard to get them to stop.
Right.
But
You
that's
can
what
always
I'm
call
saying.
them back, send them
If
back.
the manpower's down, and we've got to come up with some kind of scheme until we get this deal behind us, and it isn't just town hall, and it's everyone around us. If you've been listening to Limited, you're hearing a lot, or you'll hear it right in Sebago. I can tell you, when there isn't people on rescue, or just listen to the radio.
Yeah.
Because that's their only godsend over there, is the rescue people, and that's not manned 24/7, 7 days a week. It's not.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
They had one in Standish, down in North Cornwall, they had one of the menu. To the tree,
Yeah.
because they couldn't roll the truck out of Whitecroft.
Oh.
And that's a manned station.
Yeah.
But then the man down there is college students. And there again, I can tell you, when I listen to the radio, when, bus forum and not forum up here are not manned. Because the trucks don't go out.
No, yeah.
They'll call for them, but they don't go out.
Mm-hmm. All right, we'll get off of this here. Okay, operator reporting. Go on that, Bob.
We have, two things that we need to report by the 30th. We have to go on and get signed on and make sure that we have all our people who's going to report signed in, and then we have to sign a report, for expenditure and whatnot for as of April 30th. So, I was talking to, Ron last night, and he said it's kind of complex. I looked at it a little bit, it is. So Robin is, if you get that thing out the door, the, town report, you can sit down and see what it takes. It's, you have to go into the portal and answer a bunch of questions. It's not obvious how you do that. Get it done. I think they have a person called the account holder, or, it might be Deb, but just looking at the email and where they have it come in, I think she might be the account holder. That's it.
Okay. Signed the SMRPC agreement for comprehensive plan.
We'll do it.
No?
What's that, front there, Bob? Is that, no, the other.
Oh, here we go. So,
Yeah,
what
I was gonna say.
this says, you know what that's about?
Yes. Yep.
Okay. I move that we sign the agreement with Southern Maine Regional Planning Commission to help us update our comprehensive plan.
I'll second it.
All in favor?
We have money in the budget for the first year, and, they say it's a pay-as-you-go thing.
Is it 14,000 a year or something like that?
I think I put it in as 15, but I think it was 15 for this year, and then maybe a little bit less next year, because, there's already some in the, reserve account.
Give that back to you. Chief Crawford requesting changes to the warrant. What changes do you want?
Only part of it, I think Bob can help me out, we're talking about this when I had hang up with him, so I think it's a complete answer. On the training account that we have, FICA or training,
Yeah.
if we don't use that money, it goes back into, am I correct, the reserve fund?
No, it's into the fund balance.
Fund balance, okay, I know it went to a fund. Is there a wording where we can keep that money rolling over, so it's in there? And why I'm saying that, I know that with this study is coming and everything, there's gonna have to be more training, which we pay for. There's also gonna have to be, a raise for firefighters and stuff, which we don't, is not figured in.
Right, yeah.
All right, and I know it's petty, if you can't do it, then you can't do it, but is it just a question of changing the wording, is what I'm asking, why does it go to fund balance, if I'm looking at the book, it doesn't really explain it.
Okay. So if everything was sent to a special account year after year, you build up these little war chests over here, and every year you'd still be charging the same amount. And, when the money doesn't roll over into these little war chests, so to speak, it goes back into the fund balance, and it's used to reduce the mill rate every year. So you'll see that there's, in the warrant, there's a line where we say, these are numbers that we're using from the fund balance to reduce the mill rate this year. And so that's how you scoop up the unspent money, bring it all back in, and reuse it.
Here's how I kinda look at it, and I know it's stupid, and I don't intend to do this,
as long as
it's
you-
almost like I have to use it up, which,
You
that
don't.
isn't what I should be looking at. I should be looking at the overall training and the man hours, is what, in that one particular account, is what I should be looking at. If you can't do it, then it's not gonna be a real big deal,
That's the difference between,
but just when I go over, I'm gonna go over,
Are
and
you-
it's gonna be what it is.
So that's the fund balance as well.
so if you,
I can't get into it again.
if you need the money, and it's been spent, then it's okay to just, budget what you need. But this particular account has been underutilized year after year after year.
Yeah, I mean, there's always been
And
stuff
that's why-
turned back in, there's no doubt about it.
And,
But
I've
it's
heard-
a comfort level knowing that that's there.
Okay. And
And
that's
it's like the truck account last year, when I overspent that, it's like, where the hell is this coming from?
the, so we budget it there, and a lot of places we do over budget, knowing that it's there for comfort level. There might be an expense that comes up, but we also know that if it does get spent, then it rolls back into the fund balance, and we can scoop it up and use it again the next year to
Yeah,
get the
but
mill rates down.
what happens if he uses it before the next town meeting, before we vote on taking it out of the fund balance for training or whatever? I mean, I can understand what he's saying, cause, you know.
Halfway through the year, you get a special class that only comes up once every 10 years.
Right, yeah.
And it costs, $500 a head.
Or you may have more calls, so it's gonna take more man hours, and, I think.
I just see this particular year and the coming year, beyond this year, with the training and stuff, because they're recommending that we do a minimum of 24
Yeah,
above the 8-hour mandatory.
yeah,
And it should be up around 36, it's what it should be on your training.
Yeah.
Now, those are just figures I throw out, but this is my guideline I gotta go by, minimum is 24, with the 8 going on top of it, for every guy that's in the department. Which doesn't sound like much, but I'm gonna have to tell you, in the last few years, there ain't that much going on in the training.
right, yeah. And I certainly see the benefits of, all that training being and utilized, because, you gotta train the people, you gotta train these guys and the people, and to get them ready, you don't want half-trained people going in buildings, and so.
On anything.
On anything.
Yeah, that's how I word it, because some of these guys aren't interior and stuff.
Right.
Just as bad when they get on trucks. You've been around long enough to see that with some of the people we had at the north.
You've been at.
There were certain people I would not trust going in the building, if they was on the
Right.
truck. I threatened their father so many times.
Oh, you may get somebody on a pump and do something wrong, and you get destroy a pump, and so it's, I can see, can't we have anything he has left over going to a certain account? We just have to have the vote of people to approve that.
Certain account or that same account, so you know it's there next.
There's-
And I'm gonna say, if there is a lot there, if we didn't touch it, then I do think it's probably up to you guys to say, hey, you ain't used this, why don't we cut it back?
Cut it back and put a cap on it.
Yeah.
Yeah, put a cap on
When
it.
you're there.
Yeah.
We could do that another year. So, I don't like it, but it's up to you.
I don't see a problem with it.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, it's a little late to do it this year.
Right, yeah, it is.
But,
That's fine.
Be like road commissioner, you know.
Yeah, it's the same thing.
Times money he has, he just rolls over into another account, I don't see why you can't do
Yeah, but let me just clarify, that the money that the road commissioner has that rolls into account, it goes into the emergency road repair account. So it's not just money that he can tap into, he has to come to the selectmen and say, this is what I'm gonna use it for. And so.
Right.
And,
Well, at least it was easy for him to get at without going to a special town meeting.
well, it is.
well, that's the trouble.
Yeah.
But, and the other issue though is, when you come to build a budget, and if he's, asked for $150,000, he's only spent $100, you know, so, well, do I really need to budget $150 for the next year?
Right.
No.
And so that's how these things start to balance out a little bit, okay, if you folks wanna change the warrant for this year, it's fine with me,
Is it too late?
Right, it works, you can do it.
Has that been sent to them yet? So it
No.
must be getting closer to one, isn't it?
I hope.
Yeah, we hope so.
I mean,
Worst comes to worst, and we could always win a fund balance on special town meeting to pull some money out for them anyways.
right, I mean, we can wait till next year, but I think it should be available for.
Well, it's already been appropriated to them once.
Right. You know, like Bruce said, I know that the train has been slack the last few years, and it's gonna, well, I read that before, it's gonna pick up again. It's got to. And you gotta have more money, or you gotta have, you know, special trained people to go into the buildings.
I'll work with Robin.
They have to be trained, cross-trained, and everything.
Right, yeah,
I'll work with Robin to change the wording.
okay.
All right, Bruce?
Yes. You want me to go on the other stuff with firefighter, or just?
Sure, go ahead.
Till later.
Go ahead.
My question to you, you said we talked about the pay was one thing, and I'm sure you haven't sat and talked, which is fine, but we need to do it together sometime. With this report from Neil, I would like to see him to come back. He will do it, you know, video, something like that. I feel so we spent that money, he should come back. The question is, what day works for the three of you? I'd like to get him in here sometime in the afternoon, because he's got a 2.5, 3 hour drive back.
Yeah.
So, but I do think it's important that we sit down as a group and talk to him, so we're hearing the same verbiage.
Right, yeah. I'm good. Any afternoon after 2:00.
You guys pick a date, and I'll call him tomorrow and see if we can make it happen, or give me a few dates, whatever.
Do we have our comments together?
No, I haven't finished reading it yet, so,
Okay.
yeah, give us maybe a week to.
That's perfectly fine, and maybe you wanna wait until after town meeting, I don't know, because you guys
Yeah,
got
might
a
do
lot on
that.
your plate. You guys got a lot on your plate still coming after. That's entirely up to you, I'm just asking, that's my feeling, I think we should be talking to him one more time.
I agree.
On this rough draft, and then have him go back and rework it,
Yep,
and so we can present it to the public.
yep, I agree.
Just, talk to him, let him know that, I think we had, what, 2 weeks or something that we were supposed to respond to him with.
I can call him, it's probably, I think there was something,
Yeah.
I'm not too worried about that.
I know, we paid him a lot of money, but
Oh, I know.
he's working for us.
I think I'm going on his payroll instead of yours, so. And the other thing, you guys have talked about ISO tonight, and I know he brought it up, which is kind of amazing, because I got a phone call from him the other day, and I gotta call him back tomorrow. You know what ISO is?
Yeah.
You and your dad was involved with it. Well, that one has run out, and they wanna come in and do another one. I have not talked to the guy, he just left a voicemail the other day, and wasn't here today, but I'll call him tomorrow, try to hook up with him.
This is a service free to the town?
I don't believe there's gonna be a fee from him.
No, there isn't,
I do not believe there is.
because they,
But some of the things leading up to it, I think there's going to be. And I mean, getting, again, if you just can't have one through the door, that'd be like, maybe municipal review people, when they came in and done an audit on. the
Yeah,
building.
yeah.
It'd be the same thing when they walk in.
You'd be looking at everything, and, yeah. Yeah.
That ain't all bad though.
No, it isn't.
You know, I mean, it's scary when you first think of it, but it's,
Wynn has been after me, and this is in the back of my mind, just to throw it out, Wynn down here is, not Wynn, Jim, down here at the lumber mill's been after me about doing a, mock drill there again this year.
Oh, yeah.
And I know he'd like to do it right off the bat, but I went to check Brown's hydrant here a little while ago, and that ain't gonna work. So I don't know what I'm gonna do, because I kinda need that.
Yeah.
Well, you should have done it when all the water was there.
Yeah, so we're kind of thinking about, in the back of my mind right now, is working the ISO and that at the same time.
Yeah.
I think it makes sense instead of doing, separate ISO and then a month or two later doing, the lumber mill down here. I think it would work better if we just try to combine it.
That's like we did years ago down there. We had the guy, yeah.
Yeah, he was there. I
Yeah,
think
he
that's where
was
you got your rating from.
Right.
Because where you got your rating from,
Yeah.
down there.
How much water we could pump or,
Maintain.
Maintain.
2 or 2.5 hours. I
Yeah.
think, the paper.
Yeah.
You have to maintain that flow without losing it.
yeah. We had a lot of equipment down there that day.
Yeah, I was talking to Neil the other day, and Alna, which is a similar sized town to me, I don't know the statistics, but they got theirs down to 4. I don't think we could get ours down to 4 the way our system is right now. But I would like to see it look better than being in the 10.
Yeah, right, yeah. Yeah, I think it's better. Anything else?
Nope, that's it.
You sure? Okay. All right, parties are us. Yeah, I guess we're gonna need those. There are 2 of them, one for out here, and one for the other. Yeah. Leaking community center roof. Guess it's pretty bad, it's
Every time it rains, Randy has to,
soak up the water.
yeah, and he's really concerned
And it
that
says community center, is that down?
that room,
Yeah.
that's a mold
Oh.
issue.
My room.
Yeah, okay.
No,
the first one on the right.
no, okay.
Mrs. Lydia's room.
Yeah.
And then apparently there's another piece of trim, although the way he described it, I don't know if it's the eaves or something that's come off out back here. That he thinks water might be getting inside as well, but the bigger concern is that kind of, he said, at this point, you might have to possibly think about ripping up the carpet if it's. He does his best with fans, and he has an extractor
Yeah.
that he uses to suck the water out of the carpet, but he's concerned that, depending upon how much rain we get, it's coming in just about every storm now, so.
Especially in the last week or so, we're getting a lot of rain lately.
But even with a small amount of rain, it still comes in, we just get a smaller amount that comes in, that's all. So,
Yeah.
it just kind of reflects on the size of the puddle that's on the carpet, that's all. So he just comes to me each time because he's concerned, so I felt, I need to
Yeah, so I'm gonna
reiterate it.
aware of it and working on it. Are we asking for money for that, though? Out of the,
Asking for money, to fix the roof.
Yeah.
In the community center. Whether it'll be enough or not, I don't know. And I'm not sure that it's a roof leak, but, because I think the water just runs off the roof.
run down,
Right down the face of those windows and
coming in?
going in.
Yeah.
we got that diverter up on the top of the roof. And when the water, so much water gets into it, then it has to fly off over that. And all the water comes off all the
I
water.
know, and it runs right down the face of the building.
Yeah.
It doesn't seem to be bothering the other windows though. That,
No, but there's a rotten spot in there, has been, since we bought the building. You can just, and I think you folks put some, wrap on part of it.
Yeah, we had that done, yeah.
I think it's the water on the face of the building, but.
Yeah, that was done. That part of the building was already wrapped. But we put wrap on this part of the building here.
and they were, the MMA folks' expectations were to have things on that list that needed to be repaired by the end of April.
Yeah.
Okay.
Tell them we're working on it.
Danny Bouton was supposed to fix those tiles. You might wanna email his wife and see when he's coming back to do that.
Yeah,
Okay.
I thought he was,
Yeah.
I know there's been a trash can under, was that fixed in the hallway there?
I think Deb put that trash can there, was it leaking? Yeah, she said that.
Yeah, it did a few times this winter.
Yeah.
That was the ice dam.
Right.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, some of that's with my operation and stuff I had, usually I come up here and, get the edges of the.
Yeah, you
Right,
went up to it.
No, this year it didn't happen.
I didn't even think of that.
Not your job.
But it does make a difference if you pull that off and stuff like that.
Could we put, like, the heat tape coils or something along up there? You see on some buildings, where you plug them in and it kind of keeps it melted to kind of.
Oh, and Donna used to throw some of those little hockey puck, ice melt up there.
Yeah.
And that would keep it not going.
They have that wiring that actually.
Yeah, yeah.
There are ways to build the roofs so that they don't look like that. You put the ice shield stuff on and put it up far enough so that the water doesn't run.
Yeah.
Also, you don't use a 2-inch pitch. Flat roofs don't work.
No, they don't.
Valleys are bad.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Remind us. We don't have it. No reminder. Kathy, you got anything?
Town meeting on the 7th,
Yep.
and, community auxiliary is gonna be doing the food,
Yep.
and I was gonna put in a notice for the shopping guide and neglected to do so about the candidates night, but I will do it for next Wednesday.
Okay.
Library's coming along, still not complete with Atlanta Comfort Service, and almost done with, putting back the mopboard and getting the walls painted. Materials are there, labor is just a little slow. Yeah, that's about it for now.
Okay. Joe, you got anything?
Nope.
Good.
No, I don't have anything, but I do really appreciate all you guys do.
Yeah, thank you.
Really, this is pretty enlightening being here tonight and seeing all the stuff you have to deal with.
Yep. Bruce, you got anything else?
No.
Stevie?
Bob called Chris Friday. There's a culvert that was coming up through the road on Hall Road. It wasn't coming up through, it was laying on top of the road. So we're in the process of fixing that. That should be in tomorrow. Put stone in the hole to drain, but fighting the water issue right now. Gonna let it drain enough so we can put the pipe in. So, took the 21 International up to Fairfield today, had work done on it. So, we got our first paving bid, well, proposal, I guess. We were looking at rehabbing School Street, but we don't have enough money to do that. Things have gone right through the roof. To do that less of a mile stretch of road, you're looking at $305,000.
Wow.
So,
I guess I won't be paving my driveway.
yeah, I wouldn't do it right now. They're getting somewhere close to $685 a ton for mix. So,
When I first started driving truck, a load of asphalt was $2,000 delivered.
yep.
That same load of asphalt today is about $22,000. For the same amount. That's how much it's going up.
Well, I mean, it's all oil-based and, so.
Right, yeah.
World economy's dictating a lot of that right now.
Yeah. Well, I mean, we got a little less than 6 ton of cold patch to try to fix the roads, and that was almost $1,000.
Yeah.
You know, it's,
I'm encouraged though.
what's that?
I'm encouraged that you guys are looking at the contracting now instead of in the fall.
Yeah, well, we're kind of, that's the problem. I mean, I come from a company that's pretty proactive, and if you don't get on the books now, then you're pretty well behind.
I think that's what happened to us last year.
Well, I think part of it, but the big issue is, you know, the town only sets $100,000 aside for that, plus the LRAP. So to do anything, I mean, with those kind of numbers, you're talking even a quarter of a mile of road.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You're talking, don't quote me on the numbers, but I think it's around 45 miles of paved road in this town.
Yeah, somewhere around 44.
So it's gonna take a long time to pave at a quarter of a mile. So, yeah. Any update, Bob, on the posting on Fremont?
No, but I will,
Oh, yeah, it's getting chewed up pretty bad,
Very bad.
Yeah.
And, with the,
I think, well, I'll tell you for sure later.
and with that posting, us posting the road, it is, because it's Title 29, it is state law. So where it dictates, when we get off the phone with, we called Troop K again, because we had a low boy down in San Pond unloading excavators on a posted road again. And as long as those trucks are empty, regardless of their weight, they legally can run these roads. So, at the end of the day, a chip truck going to the mill to get a load can legally go down any posted road in this town.
The other thing is we do not have an ordinance, involvement, and so posting them is really just a please.
Well, it does go back to state law, regardless if there's an ordinance or not. Me being a truck driver, if that road is posted, it's Title 29, and I'm in violation of being on that road with a truck.
Posting it is just a please. I've read through the rules of the town. To do a posting and have it legally enforceable, it has to be in an ordinance approved by the selectmen. We need to go with it.
The ordinance has to be approved by the selectmen and by the town's people.
The selectmen. But you have to go through the process of posting a meeting by the selectmen, having a public hearing. I don't know. It's still the question of how you would enforce it. And there's still the issue of, there's a lot of holes in the rules of,
Well, right, I mean, you look at the poster and it states right on it that as long as that truck is empty and only carrying tools to do, maintenance on the truck or whatever,
Yep.
that truck weighing 46,000 pounds can legally be on that road.
Right. So they say this, I don't know.
Now, what about, roads that are like posted for no more than 3 axle trucks?
Yep, so we'll take Boundary Road as an example.
Right.
I went across it this morning with our truck, and I had to sit there and do the calculations, and I'm like, all right, 16 ton, and it's no 3 axle.
Mm-hmm.
So it's one or the other. So if you weigh 32,000 pounds, you have to stay off the road, or if you have 3 axles or more, you have to stay off the road.
But that's legal. They can enforce that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Maybe I'll do that to Fremont Avenue. No more 3 axle trucks, 3 axle vehicles.
I mean, I don't necessarily know, without getting into specifics, I mean, it could be worth the contact in the Spanish council to see how they went about it, but, or the highway department, or whoever they,
Right.
because I think they had public works down there, so I don't know how that actually but, I mean, there's ways to do it.
Yeah.
I know like Wyndham, I brought this up before, they post their roads, regardless of what that sign says, they have an ordinance stating if those roads are posted, no matter what your weight is, if you're a commercial vehicle, you have to stay off the road. And, I mean, it's a big fine, it's like $4,000 or $5,000.
Yeah. Who would enforce it?
Well,
Yeah, they got the police department.
Yeah.
We don't have that.
Yeah, but the DOT is out and about.
Well,
and they're-
DOT, but where it's Title 29, local wheels have the authority. We did find that out.
Be the code enforcement officer?
As far as what? Who enforces it?
The sheriff's department, or?
The sheriff's department, yeah. Because it goes back to the state level, and Title 29 is the same thing as a regular car license. So anything pertaining to a motor vehicle is main Title 29.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So, there may be different branches, but the chances of you getting probably a DOT trooper out here right now is probably pretty slim.
Mm-hmm. Yes, they should be patrolling this road all the time. All the truck traffic goes down through here.
I can't tell you when I've seen a DOT trooper last out in this area.
Yeah, I know,
2 days ago.
2 days, really?
2 days
Was
ago.
out here?
There's a state trooper, she gets by the house about 8 o'clock in the
Yes.
morning, don't she?
Yeah, she lives up on Hurricane Road in Hiram, Brownfield, and Marcus that way.
I saw one, I was pulling up from Sebago Road, or Bridgeton Road, down by the Bunkin Light. And she's coming north from Sweet Falls.
Yeah.
And she's getting me like this to make sure I have the seatbelt on. So, yeah, I got it. Anything else, Stevie?
No, I think that's it.
Okay. Chad? Ready to get whacked? We're gonna put those buoys out there shortly.
Whack. Well, the lights are there.
Cause I don't care, man, I don't know.
Probably feel like ice on it.
It's been cold today, really cold
Yeah.
yesterday too. No, Saturday was cold.
Robin, you got anything? No, what's that? Bob, you got anything else? Dwight?
Yeah, I got 2 things. The lawnmower, Stevie, have they got the lawnmower out yet?
Yep,
And that's already,
yep, I did the service on it last week.
so that, I mean, these guys out here are probably gonna need it first on the ball field and stuff.
Yeah, it's right in
The
the
grass
garage.
is coming up fast.
Yeah, if we get some warm weather now, it'll be turbo boost.
Yeah.
And I got a call, a couple, I don't know if you referred them to me, Robin, but, Cotrias from Funeral Home called, and they wanna do some burials. You don't know nothing about that yet? Okay.
That was
Joe,
Jody called.
yeah, Jody Watson called and stuff, and I told him it's pretty wet right now. He called, it was on the 14th of April, I think it was, wasn't it? And then we
It was
opened up on the 15th.
Yeah.
So there's one that's probably gonna take place, Tom Frost will probably take place first. Then this other one, I don't know, it's gonna depend on how wet the ground is over there. Cause right now, I mean, last year we had trouble with people going in there and running the cemetery all up.
Yeah.
So just wanted to bring that up, so if they get a hold of you guys or something, you know.
Yeah.
They may have called and spoke with Debbie or Sarah on
Yeah,
that
good.
side.
Yeah. That's all I got.
Yeah. I guess, let's see. Deb ordered the flag last January, February?
Yes,
They haven't come yet, right? And then
she did confirm,
did it?
I believe.
Okay. Yeah. I guess Paul called my father before we talked last Tuesday about going around.
Okay.
Yeah, so they were all set up for that.
Good.
We do have some flags down.
There are some flags down there. That's what I thought. I told my father to go down and take a look and see what he's.
Yeah, there's some emblems and then there's some flags.
Yeah.
I don't know how many and I don't know what the conditions are, but they are in the box.
Yeah.
I think she said she got 12, posts just to have or something like that. With the holders, yeah.
Oh, okay. And that's all I have.
I'd make a motion we retire then.
I'll second it. All in favor?